So I talked a lot about how we can use Redux Saga. Let's now use it to get a feeling for how it actually works. With Redux Saga, you create so-called sagas, which are essentially kind of functions which you run upon certain actions and which handle all your side effect logic. And a side effect simply is something like accessing local storage, reaching out to a server, maybe changing the route, or executing a timer like this here. These are all side effects because they don't directly manipulate your Redux store. They might do something which leads to a different state, which in the end is stored in your Redux store, but they don't directly are consumed by the reducer. So for that, I'll create a new subfolder in the store folder and I'll name it Sagas. The name is up to you, but this is something you will see quite a lot. Now in Sagas, I will create different files for the different types of sagas. And why don't we start with the auth saga here? So I'll create a new file, auth.js, in the sagas folder. Now in here, I want to create my Redux sagas. The question just is, how do we create such a saga? What is it actually? In its core, it's kind of a function. And I'm saying kind of because there's a little twist to it, which I will show you soon. So first of all, let's create a function in here. I'll use the function keyword and I'll name it, let's say we want to replace the saga for logging out, where we clear the local storage. So no asynchronous code in there, just some side effect which happens synchronously actually. So I'll name the function here logout. Now on this function I can accept an argument which I will in the end get automatically. I'll of course show you how to wire up such sagas. The argument would be the action. So the action which was dispatched. Because sagas are related to actions, I'll come back to this. Now I said this would not be a function, I said kind of a function. Let's add a star after the function keyword, and this star here is important. It's not part of the function name. It's actually turning this function into a so-called generator. Generators are next generation JavaScript features which are functions which can be executed incrementally. So you can kind of call them and they don't run from start to end immediately, but you can pause during function execution, for example, to wait for asynchronous code to finish. And that is exactly what Redux Saga takes advantage of. And if you have synchronous code, well, then you can just execute it from start to end immediately. I will show you how both works in this module. So we have this generator function here. Now in logout, I obviously want to do the same I do in my logout action creator. So I'll copy the free local storage calls here and paste it into my logout Saga generator here. Now you already see my IDE doesn't like this. It's saying me that this generator does not have a yield function or a yield keyword. Now we'll take care of this and I will explain what yield does. For now we're cleaning up the local storage here. Now with the local storage removing items here, we can have a look at the auth.js action creator. And we see that there at the end we returned this action object, which essentially would lead to this being dispatched. So we want to do the same here. And in a Saga, we actually do this with a special function we get from the package we just installed. So I'll import something from Redux Saga, and they're actually from the effects sub package. There I want to import the put function. Now, put in the end will just dispatch a new action. So we execute put here, and now I will simply copy the same action definition I used in the action creator with action types of logout. So there I'll put this action. Of course, for this to work, I also need to import my action types. So I'll import everything as action types from actions like this. So just as we did it in the auth.js file. And they're from the action types file. So now we're putting this, and still I got all these errors. because this is no normal function, but a generator. And in a generator, we should prepend each step we execute with the yield keyword. This simply means that this step should be executed and that it will wait for it to finish. So if it were an asynchronous action, it wouldn't continue before the step is done. The same here. So we yield all these steps here, and that now will execute this step, this step, this step, and then finally call put, which in the end behind the scenes will just dispatch this action. Now this is a Redux Saga, and it looks like a more complicated way of creating an action creator, right? Well, the idea is of having your separate area in the application where you deal with that. We have our logout generator, and now we only kind of need to hook it up to our store to be able to use it. Now let's see how that works in the next lecture.